Hello PMs, my name is Louis Lin and I'm going to talk about the Circles Method Framework, a framework to help you get your way through a product design interview question. There are 7 steps to the Circles framework. Step number 1 is about comprehending the situation, and there are 3 steps to comprehending the situation. Step number 1 is to clarify the goal. When it comes to improving a product or designing a product, there's a lot of goals that you could think about, such as increasing revenue, increasing market share, or increasing engagement. As you're talking about the potential goal for the product design question, your interviewer might ask you, what metric would you use to track, let's say, an engagement goal? And there are a lot of different metrics that you could think about. You can think about daily active users, you can think about time spent on site, you can think about the number of people posting to a newsfeed, for example. The second part to comprehending the situation is about understanding the constraints you have for the problem. There's a really famous Microsoft interview question that they've given many years to their PM candidates, and it goes like this. How would you design an airport from scratch? And many candidates would invariably jump right in and say, you know what? When it comes to designing this brand new airport, we're going to have all these different terminals and gates, food courts, and 30 minutes into the interview, the interviewer will stop the candidate and say, Louis, you missed something. And you as a candidate, you'll think to yourself, what did I miss? And I'll say, you know what? You forgot to ask me how much land we have available for this airport, and in your case, we only have 5,000 square feet. And at that point, the candidate sheepishly says, oh, well, in that case, we won't have those food courts then. And so make sure you understand all of the constraints to your product design problem up front. How much time do you have to redesign the product? How many engineering resources? And maybe perhaps if you're trying to build a web application or a mobile application. The last thing that you want to do is that you want to make sure that you understand the context of the situation. For example, if the interviewer asks you to redesign Google Scholar, and you have no idea what Google Scholar is, don't guess. Last thing you want to do is assume that you know and get some really critical mistakes wrong and have the interviewer judge you unfairly for it. And so if you don't know what Google Scholar is, ask the interviewer, what is it? Who is it for? Why do they use it? How do they use it? And make sure that you have that basic set of foundational knowledge before you plunge into that product design question. After you've comprehended the situation, step number 2 is to identify the customer. A very classic problem is when a candidate answers a question like, how would you design Facebook 2.0? And the candidate thinks to themselves, okay, well, Louis wants me to identify the customer for Facebook 2.0. And when it comes to Facebook, well, they've got about 1.5 billion daily active users or monthly active users. The candidate uses it, their mom uses it, their grandma uses it, their kid sister uses it. And so logically, it seems like the customer or the user of Facebook is everyone. You don't want to make the mistake and try to design a product, even like Facebook, for everyone. Because where I come from here in Seattle, there's a company that tries to build products that means all things to all people, and their competitors make fun of them for that. That company that I have in mind is Microsoft. In fact, a couple years back, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, made fun of Microsoft and said, this Microsoft Surface thing, I don't understand it. Is it a laptop? Is it a tablet? The last time I checked, the company that created a hybrid car / airplane is out of business because it was a really crappy car and it was a really crappy airplane. And so don't make that mistake. Try to meet the customer needs of one single target customer or customer persona and meet those needs deeply. The next thing that you want to do after you specify your target customer, and it could be, let's say, a soccer dad, a designer, a software developer, somebody really specific, is that you want to report out on their customer needs. And sometimes I think of customer needs and pain points and user stories as being fairly synonymous terms. When I think about user stories, this is your chance to demonstrate to the interviewer that you know how to write a user story. And so the basic format of a user story is, as a blank user, I want blank feature so that I can have blank benefit. And I'd say have about like 3 to 5 user stories or pain points. Once you have these pain points, the next thing that you want to do is to prioritize which pain points you're going to work on. And this really mimics what a real-world product manager does. They're in charge of a fairly long product backlog. What are the top 1 or 2 features that your engineering team should be working on? When it comes to prioritization, I think naturally about a prioritization matrix, and what you want to do as a candidate is to specify what are the different criteria that you'll think about when you're prioritizing those 3 to 5 features. Maybe it's customer delight, maybe it's customer impact, maybe it's technical feasibility, strategic importance, and maybe some rough estimation on the revenue impact. Give each one of those criteria a number from the scale of 1 to 5, and then sum them up and see which feature bubbles up to the top and make that feature the focus of your interview. After you figured out which pain point you're going to resolve in relation to the goal that you have for this particular product design question, the next thing that you need to do is to brainstorm solutions. And you want to brainstorm as many solutions as possible. I'd say maybe about at least 10 in about a 1 minute interval. And the reason I'm pushing you to do 10 is because if you just settled for one solution and the interviewer doesn't like it, then you have no other solutions to suggest to them. Creativity absolutely matters when it comes to brainstorming solutions during your response. And so the best way to make sure that you have one idea that will absolutely blow the interviewer's socks off is to have many ideas to choose from. And so push yourself to brainstorm at least 10. Once you brainstorm at least 10, and this would happen silently on your own, there's no need for you to share all 10 of your ideas. You don't have enough time, and some of those ideas might not be very interesting, or they might not be fully formed. But at that point, I want you to share your top 3 ideas to share with the interviewer, the ones that have the most promise. In each one of those 3 ideas, you can describe what that feature is, how it works, and discuss the pros and cons of each one of those ideas in relation to the goal of what you're trying to achieve. Why do I suggest that you focus on the pros and cons? Well, there's a couple of reasons to that. Reason number 1, by doing a pros and cons analysis of your top 3 ideas, you're going to have the benefit of attacking your own idea first. Now, why do you want to attack your own idea? Well, the person on the other side of the table, the interviewer, they're evaluating your response. They're judging whether or not you are a good fit for this role. And naturally, evaluation, judging means criticism. And they'll naturally say, hey, Louis, you came up with one idea. What about this? What about that? You forgot about this. And naturally, on the other side, as the candidate, when they start criticizing your idea, it doesn't, it's not unusual for you to feel a little bit defensive about it, especially if you don't have additional ideas to share. And so what I want you to do is to jump in and do that pros and cons analysis by talking about some of the cons of your ideas. You'll protect yourself from being attacked by the interviewer because you're attacking your ideas first. And then the second benefit that you have when you do the pros and cons analysis is that you as the candidate, you'll come across as very fair and balanced in your evaluation of your different ideas. After you've evaluated the different trade-offs, what I want you to do finally is to make a final recommendation. And who knows, in this product design interview question, they could last about 30, maybe sometimes 45 minutes. You might have had a lot of fun discussing different ideas, brainstorming, building on top of different thoughts from the interviewer, but 45 minutes is still a very, very long time. And so the polite thing for you to do to wrap up your response is to summarize your final proposal, giving your reasons why, and discuss any potential next steps that are warranted to explore that idea further.